Things are getting very interesting in the United States of America. If you compare the kind of appointments Trump is making in the US, there are very many similarities to the kind of appointments William Ruto made in Kenya about 2 years ago. When William Ruto and his team came to power, they were very much excited, and some of William Ruto's appointees were clearly incompetent. And even before they were vetted or even before they took over office, Kenyans knew they were completely incompetent. They were not going to deliver. They had no idea of what was expected of them in their respective ministries. Some were on record saying they had several cases. And besides the cases, they also had some rape and murder cases. Those are the kind of individuals William Ruto appointed when he took over power. 2 years down the line, we had the Gen Z rebellion, after which William Ruto sent home his entire cabinet secretaries because they were incompetent. The same thing is happening in the United States of America. Some individuals Trump is appointing are people of questionable characters, people who are not competent at all. And already some of these appointees are facing rejection from Trump's own Republican Party. That's the state of affairs in the United States of America. So what Trump is doing in America did happen in Kenya about 2 years ago. In this video, I want to explain 3 things for Kenyans to understand what I'm trying to say. The first thing, I'll explain what Trump's call for recess appointments mean, because Trump is imploring upon the Republican Party and most of the senators to allow him make recess appointments. What are these recess appointments, and why is Donald Trump trying to unilaterally make appointments without the Senate's approval? What's happening here, ladies and gentlemen? The second issue, I'll also explain the Republican Party's election of its Senate Majority Leader. About 2 days ago, Republican senators did vote to elect the Majority Leader in the Senate, and Trump's favorite was beaten. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? We are going to look into that. And then the third issue, we'll also look into some of Donald Trump's controversial appointments that are already causing jitters within the Republican Party. I'll explain those 3 issues. If you're watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. Let's proceed to the first issue. What are recess appointments? Let's have a look at this. Donald J. Trump. Any Republican senator seeking the coveted leadership position in the United States Senate must agree to recess appointments in the Senate, without which we will not be able to get people confirmed in a timely manner. Sometimes the votes can take 2 years or more. This is what they did 4 years ago, and we cannot let it happen again. We need positions filled immediately. Additionally, no judges should be approved during this period of time because the Democrats are looking to ram through their judges as the Republicans fight over leadership. This is not acceptable. Thank you. Trump is still blaming the Democrats. Even after winning, he's still blaming the Democrats. But that's not our main story in this video. What are recess appointments? Because Donald Trump is talking about recess appointments. In a layman's language, recess appointments is when the President of the United States of America unilaterally appoints top government officials without the Senate's approval. And normally these appointments do take place when the Congress is on recess. But in this case for Donald Trump, it appears he wants to create his own recess. He wants to force the Congress to go on recess. That's what is happening here. Why is Donald Trump trying to avoid the Senate's vetting of his appointees? It's very clear that some of these appointees are very unpopular and they might not even pass the Senate's vetting. So Donald Trump wants to use a shortcut into appointing them. He knows that if they go through the Senate's vetting, they might not pass the vetting. This brings us to the second issue. Republican Party's election of its Senate Majority Leader. This is also very interesting because Trump's favorite, the person Trump had hoped could be elected as the Republican Senate Majority Leader, was badly beaten. He came the last in that election. And in that election, Republican senators were the ones who were electing their majority leader. Before that election, some of Donald Trump's non-trusted allies, such as Elon Musk, they had this to say. Elon Musk, Rick Scott for Senate Majority Leader. And not only Elon Musk, but other Trump's allies were also rooting for Rick Scott. Rick Scott is the Florida senator. The person who won that seat is John Thune, South Dakota senator. What does that show us, ladies and gentlemen? If it was in Kenya, then the person William Ruto would love to be the majority leader. That person could have carried the day. But in the United States of America, we are seeing the president-elect. He's got his own preferred candidate, but the senators are going against that. So it means the senators in the United States of America, basing my argument on this, they are much more independent than the senators we have in Kenya. That's coming out very clearly, basing my argument on how they elected their majority leader in the Republican Party. A majority leader in the Senate is basically the de facto leader of the Senate. He or she is the person who convenes sessions. He is the person who determines which bills to be voted on. That's how powerful a majority leader in the US Senate is. If you look at the hierarchy of the US Senate, we have the Vice President of the United States of America, who automatically becomes the Senate President. But he or she is hardly in the Senate. So there is a person we call President pro tempore, who acts in the absence of the President, who is the Vice President of the United States of America. But in terms of real power, the Senate's majority leader is the de facto Senate leader. Let's now jump to the third issue, Trump's controversial appointments. That's also an issue that is causing some jitters even within Donald Trump's Republican Party. Let's start with the CS for defense. The current CS for defense is Lloyd Austin, a four-star general. A four-star general is the highest rank in the US military, just below a five-star general. But a five-star general, that's a position that has never been held since the early 1980s. So the highest rank in the US military that somebody can achieve is a four-star general. Lloyd Austin is a four-star general, the current CS for defense, US. Who has Donald Trump appointed to replace this four-star general? Trump has appointed a Fox TV host, a reservist military officer by the name Peter Hegseth. That's the person Donald Trump wants to replace a four-star general. And that's causing some jitters even within the Republican Party because Peter Hegseth does not have that requisite experience to sit at the Pentagon. He doesn't have that requisite experience, comparing him to the outgoing defense CS Lloyd Austin. And then the second appointee is Matt Gaetz, earmarked for Attorney General's position. Gaetz has got some integrity issues, and even his qualifications are also being challenged. Is he qualified to be the US Attorney General? In 2020, this man earmarked for Attorney General was accused of child sex. In 2020, Matt Gaetz was accused of child sex, trafficking, and statutory rape. Following an investigation, the United States Department of Justice DOJ decided not to pursue charges against him. Prior to his resignation as representative, Gaetz was also under ethics investigation by the House Ethics Committee for allegations of underage sexual abuse, illegal drug use, sharing inappropriate images and videos on the House floor, misusing state identification records, converting campaign funds for personal use, and accepting impermissible gifts. Gaetz has denied all of the allegations. That's the person earmarked as the US Attorney General. Back in Kenya, we had some saying they had several cases in court. Some were accused of rape, some murder. William Ruto did appoint them in his government. We saw what happened. They had to be kicked out. Donald Trump seems to be making the same blunder Ruto made in Kenya. And I just don't know how all this will end up. And then the third appointee is the person earmarked as the Director of Intelligence by the name Tulsi Gabbard. It's believed that Tulsi is a Russian spy. Yes. So her integrity is also being questioned. As the Director of Intelligence of America, and then here you have somebody being seen as a Russian spy. This is raising some questions. Let me stop it there for now, ladies and gentlemen. But even before I stop, let me say this. Looking at Donald Trump Trump comes out to me as a perfect chip of a typical African leader. Trump is not your ordinary white man. We've been told before that the white people can easily resign. If, for example, the white person is the minister in charge of transport, and then an accident happens, the minister can easily resign for having failed to stop that accident. That's the conventional white man all along we have known of. Donald Trump cannot resign. In fact, Trump would rather die than to resign. A typical African mentality. An African will rather die in office than to resign. Let's meet in our next analysis. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Kenya.